give you 33 different statements about ancient history, and you have to decide, yes, you. Is it a real, mind-blowing fact, or did I just completely make it up while waiting in line for coffee? Let's test that big, beautiful, beautiful brain of yours and find out if you're a human encyclopedia or just extremely gullible and ready to believe everything that you hear. Starting with our first fact or fiction statement. Drumroll, please. Ancient Romans wore penis-shaped amulets or charms to ward off evil. Is that a fact? Or is that fiction? Ancient Romans were rocking penis-shaped amulets to ward off evil. What do you think? Not the evil eye. The penis was warding off the evil. Fact or fiction? It is a fact. They were called fascina, and they were hung in the doorways as well. Fascina, maybe that's the first thing I'll offer in my Shopify store. Would you buy a penis-shaped amulet? Please tell me in the comments below. Depends on the charm, right? Like how cute it was. Alright, enough with the penis talk. Our next fact or fiction statement is an Egyptian pharaoh kept naked slaves covered in honey around him to attract flies away from his body. Yes, an Egyptian pharaoh kept naked slaves covered in honey in order to attract the flies away from his body. Is that a fact? Did an Egyptian pharaoh really devise that plan, or did I completely conjure it in line for a venti cold brew? It is a fact. This was done by Egyptian pharaoh Pepi, Egyptian pharaoh Pepi II, who used this tactic most to keep flies away from him during meals. Can you imagine being a slave coated in honey at mealtimes? Would you do it? Would you offer yourself up as a honey slave? I don't think they really had a choice. Our next fact or fiction statement is the Roman doctors recommended the warm blood of fallen gladiators as a remedy for epilepsy. Now, is that a fact or is that fiction? Roman doctors recommended the warm blood of fallen gladiators as a remedy for epilepsy. Fact or fiction? This is a fact. Warm blood of fallen gladiators was a remedy for epilepsy. Why isn't warm blood recommended as a remedy for epilepsy anymore? I wonder. Our next fact or fiction. Some Tibetan monks claimed they could enter an altered state by staring at the sun for hours on end without blinking. Is that a fact or is that fiction? They could enter an altered state by staring at the sun without blinking. They're just beaming out. What do you think? It is fiction. Totally made up. falsehood. A Chinese king built a lake filled with wine and an island where roasted meats hung from trees for his extravagant feasts. Is that a fact or is that fiction? A lake filled with wine and an island where roasted meats hung from trees. What do you think? It is a fact. It was a wine pool and a meat forest, and it was part of King Sao's pleasure garden. Pleasure garden. Wish you have a pleasure garden. Has anyone ever asked you that question before? Spartans train their youth in shadow dueling, fighting blindfolded to heighten their senses for real battles. Is that a fact or fiction? Fact or fiction? Fighting blindfolded, shadow dueling to heighten their senses for real battles. I really like the image that I'm picturing there. Fact or fiction? It is complete fiction. They didn't do that. Fact or fiction? In ancient Egypt, pregnant women would pee on bags of barley and wheat to learn the future sex of their baby. Ancient Egypt, pregnant women peeing on bags of barley and wheat in order to learn the future sex of their baby. What do you think? Was that happening? Is that true? Were they urinating? Could it be? Could it be? Who figured that out? If it is true. And it is, in fact, true. Yes, it is a fact. Pregnant women's urine makes seeds germinate faster due to their elevated hormone levels. So, if it was a male baby, the barley sprouted first, and if it was a female baby, the wheat sprouted first. So next time you're pregnant, make sure you get some barley and wheat for your gender reveal. Fact or fiction? In ancient Greece, there was a law requiring all citizens to prove their usefulness by age 40, or they were exiled to an island. Is that a fact or fiction? Ancient Greece. All citizens must prove their usefulness by age 40, and if you weren't useful, you're gone onto an island. Bye. It is fiction. Not true. Didn't happen. Fact or fiction? In early Japan, women were forbidden from laughing in public because it was believed to release their spirit and shorten their lives. Early Japan, if you were a female, you could not laugh in public because your lifespan would shorten. And it would also release your spirit. You can't have that happening. What do you think? It is fiction. Early Japan, tons and tons of laughter, just women giggling in the streets endlessly, endless giggles. Fact or fiction? Ancient Egyptian doctors used moldy bread to treat infected wounds, unknowingly creating an early form of antibiotics. fiction? Moldy bread. Moldy bread to treat infected wounds. Again, who thought of that? Who thought of these things? Did they just try absolutely everything first to see what worked, or how? It is a fact they did use moldy bread as an early form of antibiotics. Please don't try this at home. Don't even attempt it. Don't even think about it. Do not use Wonder Bread. Is it a fact? Is it fiction? Babylonians believed the birth of a deformed baby or animal was a sign of doom, and they recorded thousands of such omens. Babylonians believed the birth of a deformed baby or animal was a sign of doom, and they recorded thousands of such omens. Deformed baby, deformed animal, doom and gloom upon the land. Deformity. Doom. What do you think? It is a fact. And one example of this, in case you are curious, is if a woman gives birth and the baby has no ears, there will be distress in the land. Fact or fiction? Genghis Khan once held a festival where he forced enemy kings to compete in a wrestling match, with the losers executed on the spot. Fact or fiction? With the losers executed on the spot. It is fiction. He didn't do that. Is it a fact? Or is it fiction? Mayan priests performed ritual bloodletting, piercing their tongues and genitals to induce visions of ancestor spirits. Is that a fact? Or is it fiction? Ritual bloodletting. Ritual bloodletting, just piercing those parts to induce visions, psychedelic visions. Do you think that's a fact? It is a fact. They did do that. Yep. The Incas implemented a silent month where no one was allowed to speak except for priests. And if they did speak, the penalty was losing their tongues. Silent month, no one could speak except for priests, and those who did speak would lose their tongues. Is that a fact? Is that fiction? Off with your tongue, off with your tongue, off with your tongue, off with your tongue. It is fiction. Fiction, fiction, fictitious, fictitious. The Romans believed sneezing 3 times in a row was a sign of impending disaster, and it became law to throw salt immediately over one's shoulder. So if you sneezed 3 times in a row, it was law that you must chuck that salt over your shoulder. Chuck it. Or else there would just be impending doom. We can't have that. It is fiction. Now, is this one a fact or is it fiction? Spartan warriors were trained from childhood, and weak infants were often left to die if they were deemed unfit for battle. Is that a fact? Is that fiction? Spartan warriors trained from childhood, and weak infants were often left to die if they were deemed unfit for battle. It is a fact. Those poor weak infants. Our next fact or fiction statement. Celtic druids thought oak trees could speak during lightning storms and deliver prophecies through the patterns of burned bark. Those oak trees, were speaking during lightning storms, and they were delivering prophecies through their burned bark. It was like reading tea leaves on burned bark. Burned bark edition. What do you think? Are you ready for the answer? It is fiction. Did I get you? Our next statement. Mayan priests treated fevers by forcing patients to eat live fire ants, claiming the insect's heat would burn out all illness. Is that a fact or fiction? It is fiction. Thank God. God. That would hurt inside. That would hurt. It would just hurt. Egyptians performed curse rituals by writing enemies' names on clay figures and smashing them to symbolically destroy their power. Fact or fiction? They would write the enemies' names on clay figures and smash them to symbolically destroy their power. Fact or fiction? It is a fact. Maybe give it a shot, see what happens. In early Rome, a creditor could legally cut a debtor's body into pieces if he failed to pay. Is that a fact or is that fiction? If someone owed you money, you could legally cut their body into pieces if they didn't pay up. What do you think? Was that allowed? Was that legal? It is a fact. It was legal to do that. You could cut the body into pieces. They didn't pay. Is this one a fact or is it fiction? Hippocrates pioneered dream therapy, believing that treating patients based on their dreams could heal their illnesses. What do you think? Did Hippocrates pioneer dream therapy, believing that treating patients on their dreams would heal their illnesses? It is fiction. It's fiction. Is this a fact or is it fiction? The Babylonians believed yawning without covering your mouth allowed demons to enter your body, leading to instant possession. If you yawned without covering your mouth, the Babylonians believed that allowed demons to enter into your body, which led to instantaneous possession. That's why we cover our mouth publicly humiliated at festivals and forced to parade naked in winter. Were unmarried men publicly humiliated at festivals and forced to parade naked in the winter just because they were not married? Is that a fact or is that fiction? Do you think that happened? Did it? It is a fact. Men were expected to marry by age 30 in order to produce new warriors. Next, fact or fiction? A recently discovered Mayan codex contains an unknown calendar system that doesn't match any previously known dates. Is that a fact or fiction? They discovered a codex that doesn't match any previously known dates at all. What the heck? It is. It's fiction. Fact or fiction? Early Roman law gave fathers the power of life and death over their children, including the right to execute them. Is that a fact or is it fiction? Early Roman law gave fathers the power of life and death over their children, including the right to execute them. It is a fact. The fathers were given the power of life and death, so they were able to execute them if they decided to. Next, the Indus Valley script remains undeciphered, with no bilingual texts or direct connections to known languages. Is that a fact? Is that fiction? The Indus Valley script, undeciphered, no bilingual texts or direct connections to known languages. It is a fact. It is still undeciphered and has no connection to known languages. Weird. The Mesoamerican ballgame Bok-to-Bok was often played with war captives, and the losing team was sometimes sacrificed after the match. Fact or fiction? Bok-to-Bok, played with war captives, and the losing team was sometimes sacrificed after the match. What were the parameters there? The prerequisites? They just decided, hey, this is a good time to sacrifice. What is that about? What do you think? It is a fact. Bok-to-Bok, Bok-to-Bok, Bok-to-Bok. Yes, sometimes they would get sacrificed after the match. Fact or fiction? A Persian emperor once ordered all clocks in his palace to run backward because he believed time should obey him. Is that a fact or is it fiction? All the clocks were ordered to run backward because time should obey him. He's not obeying time. What do you think? Did a Persian emperor do that? It is fiction. Persian emperor did not do that. Fact. Fiction. Egyptian physicians used crushed scorpion as a pain reliever. Is that a fact or is it fiction? Egyptian physicians used crushed scorpion as a pain reliever. Is that a fact or is it fiction? They used crushed scorpion. Next up, fact or fiction. The Vikings believed that a person who died laughing would go straight to Valhalla, as it was seen as a sign of a fearless spirit. Is that a fact or fiction? If you died laughing, you'd go straight to Valhalla because you had a fearless spirit. It'd be nice to die laughing either way. But it is fiction. Fiction, fiction, fiction. Fact, fiction. The ancient Chinese used fire arrows and explosive bombs centuries before gunpowder weapons became common in Europe. Is that a fact? The ancient Chinese were using fire arrows and explosive bombs centuries before they were ever used in Europe. Could that be true? Could that be true? It is a fact. They did use fire arrows and explosive bombs centuries before Europe. Is this a fact or is this fiction? There is an ancient Greek device that functioned as an early analog computer capable of predicting celestial events. Is that true? Is that a fact? Is that a fiction? Ancient Greek device. We're talking ancient, but still functioned as an early analog computer that could predict celestial events. It is a fact, and it is known as the anti-Kythera mechanism. And it contained dozens of interlocking gears that were hand-cut with precision, rivaling 18th century clocks. Nothing even close to its technological sophistication was known again for well over a millennium. How about them apples? What is going on? We don't know so much. Fact or fiction? The Incas used knotted strings for record keeping, but scholars still don't fully understand their meaning. Is that a fact? The Incas used strings for record keeping, but scholars still don't fully understand their meaning. Is that possible? What do you think? Fact or fiction? It is a fact. It is known as the quipus, and it is believed to contain a unique writing alternative full of historical messages, but it still remains indecipherable. Alright, taking a moment here to check in. Did you just completely dominate the game, casually proving that you're the human version of Wikipedia? Or did you realize in real time that you'll literally believe anything anyone says if they say it with enough confidence? Either way, I respect the journey. If you crushed it, congratulations. Your brain is a vault of weird knowledge, and I bet you're a nightmare to play trivia with. But you should totally come to trivia night on Wednesdays. They're live, and it'd be really nice to see you there. If you didn't crush it, just keep moving forward with confidence. You'll be fine. It's really all you need. Tell me though, which fact broke your brain the hardest? Which are you still refusing to believe, even though I literally just proved it? Let me know. I wish you all the best as you impress everyone with your newfound knowledge. And remember, next time you hear a fact that sounds too weird to be true, it just might be. How well do you actually know your rights? You know, your protected freedoms. What you can or can't say or do. Whether or not the cops can lie to your face during an interrogation. The important stuff. Floontz, that's fiction. Some of these will surprise you. Some will piss you right off. And a few, I'm hoping they might actually help you out someday. Every time you hear, that means we're on to the next fact or fiction statement, okay? So, let's see how well you really know your rights. Because our first fact or fiction question is giving a police officer the middle finger, I'm not gonna do it right now, is a crime. Is it a fact or is it fiction? Is flipping the bird, the fuzz, actually illegal? Can you catch a charge for the middle finger? Is it a crime? Is it a crime? Is it a crime? And do you think it is fiction? You can legally flip off a cop. It is generally protected speech. It's not going to make your day any smoother, but under the First Amendment, your middle finger is constitutionally protected sass. Giving a cop the finger might earn you a lecture or a free ride to the station for something else, but on its own, it's not arrest-worthy. So unless you're juggling a felony or you're mouthing off while resisting arrest, the gesture alone, totally legal. Next fact or fiction. If you ask an undercover cop if they're a cop, they have to tell you. Is it a fact or is it fiction? If you ask an undercover cop, hey yo, are you a cop? They have to tell you. If you ask the cop if they're a cop, they have to tell you that they're a cop. Is that fact or fiction? It is. It is fiction. This is a persistent myth because they don't have to tell you jack. This myth has been passed around more than a blunt at a dorm party, but sadly, it's completely false. Undercover officers are actually legally allowed to lie to you. It is part of the act. And no, it's not entrapment. Unless they pressure or manipulate you into committing a crime you otherwise wouldn't. So, just lying about being a cop, that is standard operating procedure. So no matter how smugly you ask, are you a cop though? They can smile, say nah man, and still slap the cuffs on you 5 minutes later. Tricky, who among us is a secret, covert, undercover cop? Is burning the American flag against the law? Is setting fire to Old Glory gonna land you in jail next to a guy named Snake who collects bottle caps? Is it a crime to barbecue the stars and stripes in protest? What do you think? Is that a fact or is it fiction? Can you burn the It is fiction. Believe it or not, burning the U.S. flag is protected under the First Amendment, indeed. You can torch it on purpose. You can torch it on camera, right in front of a bald eagle. And as long as you're doing it as a form of political expression and not as an arsonist starting a wildfire, it's within your rights. So, if you've got a lighter and you've got a strong opinion and maybe you've got a flair for dramatics, well then Uncle Sam cannot stop your performance art. You can burn that flag. You can burn that flag. And tell me now, is this a fact or is this fiction? It is legal to fire someone for their political beliefs. It is legal to fire someone for their political beliefs. What do you think? Is that a fact As wild as it seems, there's no federal law that protects your job if your employer doesn't align with your politics. Unless you live in a state with special protections, private employers can absolutely say, sorry, we don't hire people who post about climate change, or we're letting you go because MAGA. And yep, that's legal. Now, public employers have some First Amendment restrictions, and a handful of states ban political retaliation, but under federal law, under federal law, political beliefs are not a protected class. Police are allowed to lie to you during interrogations. Is this a fact? Fiction? Is that legal? Can they really just hit you with your buddy Hardy confessed when your buddy's actually still at home playing Fortnite? Are police allowed to lie to you during interrogations? What do you think? Is that the law? What do you think? Is that legal? Is that completely legal? Is that completely legal? It is a fact. It's unsettling, very unsettling, but it's true. It's totally and completely legal. Police can, and they do, lie straight to your face during interrogations. They can say they found your fingerprints on the murder weapon when they didn't. They can say your best friend snitched when they didn't. They can say there's a video of you doing the crime when there isn't. And guess what? It's allowed. It is all completely allowed. The Supreme Court said that basic deception is fair game, as long as it doesn't go so far that it shocks the conscience or makes a confession completely involuntary. So yeah, if a cop tells you your friend already confessed and said it was all your idea, even when your friend is literally at Chipotle, that is legal. But if they do something like lock you in a room for 16 hours without food, scream in your face, and threaten to arrest your mother unless you confess, then that's when the court starts raising their eyebrows. So the lesson here, if you want one, the lesson would be lawyer up and say nothing. Next. If police don't read you your Miranda rights, you get to go free. You've seen this one on every crime show ever, right? The detective slaps on the cuffs and says, you have the right to remain silent. But what happens if they don't say that? Do you just waltz out of jail like, sorry officer, no magic words, no case? Is it a fact? Or is it fiction? Is it a fact or is it a fiction? They don't read you your Miranda rights. You get to get out scot-free. Fact or fiction? Fact or fiction? It is fiction. This myth is pure Hollywood. The Miranda rights are not a get-out-of-jail-free card. They're more like a, hey, don't talk yourself into a longer sentence warning. They are only required when two things happen. One, you're in custody, not just being asked questions casually. And two, you're being interrogated. If the cops skip reading them and they still question you, then your answers might be thrown out in court, but the case doesn't just vanish into thin air. If they've got other evidence like surveillance footage or a witness, then the show goes on. thanks to the Fifth Amendment, which protects you from saying anything that might be used against you. But, and this is a big but, and it doesn't lie, your silence doesn't count unless you say that you're staying silent, which is completely ironic because in order to remain silent, you have to talk, but it's the truth, so. What do you say? You say something like, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and I want a lawyer. Just say that and legally the cops should stop the interrogation, right? Should we practice it? I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. Perfect, you did great. One thing worth knowing though is if you are at a traffic stop, then you still need to give your name, your license, and your registration. This is not a free pass to roleplay as a mysterious drifter, alright? Next. Police always need a warrant to search your car. Is that a fact or is it fiction? Police always need a warrant to search your car. It is fiction. Unlike your house, which has castle-level privacy rights, your car is more like a mobile legal gray zone on wheels. Thanks to the automobile exception, police don't always need a warrant to search it. If they have probable cause, like they see a suspicious bag or they smell weed in states where it's still illegal, or you blurt out, "That's not my machete," then they can search your car on the spot. If they ask to search your car and you are not under arrest, then you can and you should say no. It won't stop them if you have real probable cause, but it will protect your rights if they don't. Police need a warrant to search your cell phone. Is that a fact or is it fiction? Do police need a warrant to search your cell phone? For example, you just got arrested, your phone is buzzing non-stop, and somewhere in there is a screenshot that you really don't want a cop to see. Can they just go through your phone anyway? Is it a fact or is it fiction? It is a fact. They generally do need a warrant. In a major Supreme Court case, justices unanimously agreed that your phone is basically your entire life in your pocket. Texts, photos, emails, location history, Tinder matches, memes, everything. So, unless you say yes, don't, or there's a real emergency, cops need a warrant to dig through it. If you're arrested, they can take your phone and hold on to it, but they cannot unlock it and start swiping through it like it's a game of Clue. And one more tip. They can force your fingerprint or face scan to unlock the phone, but they can't force you to give your passcode. That is protected under the Fifth Amendment. So keep a passcode, turn off the face and fingerprint. And we are still keeping with the warrants here. Because our next fact or fiction question is, anything you put in the trash is off limits to police without a warrant. Fact? Fiction? You thought the garbage was sacred. You thought your banana peels, weird receipts, last week's regretful takeout containers legally protected. Is that what you thought? Is it a fact? Is it fiction? Is it a fact? Is it fiction? Is your garbage legally protected? It is fiction. Once that trash hits the curb, it's fair game. The Supreme Court says that you have no reasonable expectation of privacy in garbage toss out incriminating stuff like baggies, burner phones, how-to guide on tax evasion. The cops do not need a warrant to go digging through that trash. Next, we have, it is illegal to film on-duty police officers in public. Is that a fact? Is that fiction? You're walking down the street, something goes down, and you pull out your phone, cop barks, you can't film me. Is that true? Or is it just someone who doesn't want to go viral? Is it a fact? Or is it fiction? Is it a fact or is it fiction? It is fiction. You absolutely have a First Amendment right to record police officers doing their jobs in public, as long as you're not interfering with them. Courts across the country have upheld this, and the ACLU straight up encourages it. Why? Because filming police is considered a form of free speech, free press, and public accountability. It's not just allowed, it's important. That said, you cannot get in their face, block their work, yell "World Star" while climbing onto the hood of their cruiser. As long as you're at a reasonable distance and not causing chaos, then you are completely protected. And no, they cannot legally take your phone or delete your footage without a warrant. Will some try? Sure. Will it hold up in court? Absolutely not. If they're on duty in a public space, then you can press record. Just don't live stream from inside the crime scene tape and you're golden. And now, police can seize your property, even if you've never been charged with a crime. Fact. Fiction. You could be totally innocent, never arrested, never even given a court date, and they can still take your stuff. Is that a fact? Can they still take your stuff? What do you think? Is that a fact? It is a fact. It is a fact, and yeah, it sounds like a plot twist, but it's completely legal under a process called civil asset forfeiture. And here's how it works. If law enforcement suspects that your property is connected to criminal activity like drug trafficking, fraud, whatever, they can seize it, even if you have never been arrested, never charged, never convicted. You don't have to be the criminal. Your stuff is what's on trial. No joke. The case might literally be titled something like State of Florida versus $8,390 in cash, because the property is considered the defendant. Let's say you're driving with a few $1,000s in cash, and the police decide it looks suspicious. They can take it right then and there. You walk away without a charge, but if you want your money back, you have to go to the court and prove that it's not guilty, which flips the whole innocent until proven guilty thing right on its head. And in some places, the police department gets to keep the property they seize, and you don't need a law degree to realize that might lead to some serious abuse. So yeah, this is real, and no, you do not need to be convicted. Next. The government can force you to sell your private property for public use with compensation. Is that a fact? Or is it fiction? The government can force you to sell your private property for public use with compensation. The government can force you to sell your property with compensation. Fact. Fiction. It is a fact. And it's called eminent domain, which sounds like a villain from a dystopian novel, but it's a very real power granted by the Fifth Amendment's takings clause. Basically, the government can't just take your land for fun, but process, and they offer you just compensation, which is usually fair market value. Your land's getting scooped up whether you like it or not. Next, police have a legal duty to protect you from harm. Is this a fact, or is it fiction? Police have a legal duty to protect you from harm. They've got badges, body armor, cars with the words protect and serve painted right on the side. Surely if you're in danger, the police have to help you, right? So is that a fact, or is it fiction? Fact. It is fiction. Surprisingly, it is not absolutely true. Courts have repeatedly ruled that police have no constitutional obligation to protect individual people from harm, even if you're in danger, even if you call for help, even if you have a restraining order. So if someone breaks into your house and you call 911 and nobody comes, tragic, outrageous, not illegal. Legally, the police are responsible for public safety in general, not guaranteeing protection for any one person. Fact. Fiction. Police officers often can't be sued personally, even if they violate someone's rights. What do you think? If someone in uniform crosses a serious line, breaks the law, abuses their power, they can't be sued directly. Is that a fact? Fiction. Cannot be sued directly. They break a law, cross a serious line, they cannot be sued directly. What do you think? Is that a fact? It is a fact. And it all boils down to something called qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials, including police, from being held personally liable in civil court unless they violated a clearly established constitutional right. And here's the catch, the catch, the catch, the catch. Clearly established doesn't mean obviously wrong. It means there has to be an earlier court case with almost the exact same facts showing the action was unconstitutional. And if there's not, then the officer is immune. This is why you'll sometimes hear about horrifying cases of excessive force, wrongful raids, abuse, and yet no personal accountability in court. If there wasn't already a case saying that exact thing was illegal, it often doesn't matter how outrageous it was. Next, fact or fiction. The Constitution doesn't guarantee equal rights for women and men. Is that a fact? Is that fiction? It's 2025. Surely it's baked into the Constitution by now, right? It is a fact. The Constitution does not guarantee equal rights for women and men. As it stands today, the U.S. Constitution does not explicitly guarantee equal rights regardless of sex. The word women doesn't appear anywhere in the entire document. And while courts have interpreted the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause to strike down many discriminatory laws, that protection is based on interpretation and not a direct, permanent guarantee. Is it a fact or is it fiction? The United States doesn't guarantee paid maternity or parental leave. Is that a fact or is it fiction? The United States doesn't guarantee paid maternity or parental leave. It is a tax, $0, zero federal requirement. So unless your employer voluntarily offers paid leave, some do, many don't, then having a baby in the US often means burning your vacation days, going without a paycheck, or heading back to work while you're still learning how to hold a bottle and blink at the same time. By contrast, countries all over the world, including every one of the United States' economic peers, provides months of paid leave as a legal right. A Pew Research study flat out stated of 41 high-income nations, the US is the only one with zero guaranteed paid parental leave. In the land of the free, new parents are free to go broke or back to work while the rest of the world naps with their newborns on paid time. Next we have the First Amendment protects you from being fired by your private employer for your speech. What do you think? Fact or fiction? First Amendment protects you from being fired by your private employer for your speech. What do you think? Is that a fact? What do you think? Is that a fact? A fact? It is fiction. This is one of the most misunderstood rights in America. The First Amendment protects you from government censorship, but not from the consequences at your job. If you work in the private sector, your employer generally can fire or discipline you for the things you say, whether that's a tweet, a protest, a hot mic moment, as long as it's not illegal retaliation like discrimination or whistleblowing, they can do that. So, if you go viral for all the wrong reasons, your boss can absolutely say, thanks, but we're good. Our next fact or fiction is, no law protects you from being fired over tattoos, piercings, or hairstyle. Is that a fact? Can your resume say team player, but your neck tat say cursed pirate map? What do you think? Are you not protected with your tattoos, your jewelry, your hair color? What do you think? What is the truth there? It is a fact. Yeah, that dragon sleeve you got to honor your grandma. Grounds for termination. Your boss doesn't need to understand your septum ring, your green mullet, your tribal phoenix. As long as it's not tied to religion or race, they can say, cover it or clock out. Because in the eyes of the federal law, your individuality not protected. Is it a fact? Or is it fiction? Your employer can monitor your work email, your computer, and your internet use. What do you think? Can they spy on you when you have 36 tabs open so it looks like you're working, but really you're reading fiction. A blanket English-only rule, one that says you can never speak any other language at work, generally considered discriminatory because it often amounts to national origin discrimination. Now, employers can require English in certain situations, like when safety is at risk or when everyone on a team needs to understand the same instructions. But that has to be limited and it has to be necessary, not just based on someone being uncomfortable with languages that they don't understand. So, no, your job cannot ban you from speaking your native language on your break, at your desk, or even while complaining about your boss over lunch. And next. Children can legally marry in the United States. Is that a fact? Is that fiction? I mean, this isn't the 1800s, right? You can't even rent a car until you're 25. But you can get married before you finish Algebra 2. Can a 14-year-old legally say I do before they can legally drive? Think it through. Does that make sense? Is that a fact? Is that fiction? Is that a fact? Can children get married in America? Is that a fact? It is a fact. Children can still legally marry in many U.S. states under certain conditions. There's no federal ban. And as of recent data, about 10 states didn't even have a minimum age on the books, meaning that with a judge's signature or a parent's consent, a child of any age could theoretically be married. Between 2000 and 2018, nearly 300,000 minors were legally married in the U.S. under these exceptions. You can't vote, you can't drink, you can't sign a lease, but in some states you can still walk down the aisle before you hit high school. Good old North America. And that is all 22 civil rights fact or fiction statements for you. So how did you do? Were you shocked? Were you annoyed? Were you humbled by the Constitution? Now, you know your rights. You know what you can say, what cops can do, what they can't do, what your boss is allowed to control. And some of it felt unfair. It's because a lot of it is. But it's real. If you learned something new, or you just want to rant about one of these, please start a conversation. Share it in the comments. And if you want more fact or fiction videos, please like this. Hit that like. Every time you do, it helps this kind of information reach more people. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being alive. And remember, your rights only work if you know what they are. I have 22 statements about the weirdest, wildest tech happening right now. Or maybe not, because it's fact or fiction. So your job is to decide whether each statement I tell you is true or complete and total bullshit. If the statement is a fact, I'll give you a little bit of a download on how all of this actually works. Because, yeah, some of it's probably gonna blow your mind. And if you do start to question whether we are already actually trapped inside a Black Mirror reboot that no one greenlit, well, that just means you're paying attention, because it's getting weird. So, are you ready to test reality? Alright, game on. Starting with the first statement. Statement 1. Fact or fiction. Scientists taught spinach how to send emails. Yeah, email from spinach. Are we okay? Has salad gone corporate? What do you think? It is a fact. Researchers did turn spinach into teeny tiny environmental sensors. They embedded nanotube sensors into the plant, and those nanotube sensors let them detect explosive chemicals in soil. So when the roots picked up the compounds from the landmines, then the spinach sent out a signal to an infrared camera that triggered an email alert to scientists. This secret spy spinach demo showed how bionic plants can help monitor environmental pollution and danger, so forget farm to table. This is farm to inbox. Next. Fact or fiction? Cockroaches can be remote controlled with your phone. Finally, an insect that listens when you tell it where to go. What do you think? Fact? Crap. What do you think? Fact or crap? It is a fact. Biologists and engineers have turned cockroaches into little cyborgs. They do it by implanting tiny electrodes into their nervous system, and then they send signals to those electrodes, and they can stimulate the roach's antenna nerves and steer it left or right. There's even an educational kit called Robo-Roach that lets you try this out. The greater vision here is that swarms of these remote-controlled roaches could one day crawl through disaster rubble, sniffing out gas leaks or even locating survivors in places that are too dangerous for humans. So, basically, the world's most hated roommate just became a search and rescue hero. Next. Fact. Fiction. A woman received a 3D printed ear implant made from her own cells. What do you think? Fact or fiction? Brand new ear from her own cells, 3D printed. I mean, Van Gogh would have saved himself a lot of trouble if he had that tech, right? What do you think? What do you think? This is a fact. In 2022, surgeons transplanted a 3D bioprinted ear onto a 20-year-old patient who was born with it misshapen. The implant was printed using her own cartilage cells, and that means it's living tissue, so over time the ear graft ended up growing its own cartilage and integrating into her own body. This is one of the first successful implants of a 3D printed organ structure ever made, and it was made from living cells. It's pretty wild. Biotech. Now, tell me, fact, fiction. People are using AI to chat with their deceased loved ones. Is that a fact? Or is it fiction? Sounds pretty touching until you realize Grandma's ghost is behind a paywall, right? What do you think? Can you use AI to chat with your deceased loved ones? What do you think? It is a fact. There are chatbots being modeled after departed family members. They're being trained on their texts, their social media, and any recordings that are fed to it so that their personality can be mimicked. There are even digital resurrection services that let you talk to their virtual replica. Ghosts don't need Ouija boards or seances anymore. They just need access to decent Wi-Fi, and soon, a Starlink. Is it a fact or is it fiction? Next one. The first human clone has been born. Yes, a real is not Avril Lavigne. Is that a fact or fiction? Real human clone has been born, a full-blown human clone. Full-blown human clone. It is. It's fiction. Scientists have cloned animals like Dolly the sheep in 1996, way back when, but even more recently they've cloned cats, dogs, horses, even monkeys. But a human? No. Apart from a French cult that did claim that they did it, there is zero evidence. The closest that science has come is therapeutic cloning, where human embryos are cloned to harvest stem cells for research. But those embryos never allowed to develop. Or so they'd have us believe, at least. Is it a fact? Is it fiction? A temporary tattoo made of gold leaf circuit can turn your skin into a touchpad. Imagine pausing YouTube just by slapping your arm. Or tapping it, depending how rough you want to be. What do you think? Is that a fact? Is that fiction? It is a fact. It is a fact. Researchers, again at MIT, but this time the Media Lab, created DuoSkin. And it allows your skin to act as a connected interface. So you could swipe or tap directly on your skin to control your phone or your computer. We've reached a point where your forearm has more touchscreen capabilities than your laptop screen. On to our next fact or fiction. There's an AI that can read your thoughts and turn it into text. AI. Telepathic AI reading your thoughts, turning it into text. Could you imagine? You're just responding to a first date and AI outs you, tells them, hey, it was a decent date, but I feel like you look like a baked potato mixed with Ryan Gosling. It's a covert warfare tactic. I mean, you've got to make sure your AI likes you. They're just gonna leak all of your private information, right? Fact or fiction? What do you think? Do you think that's a thing? Do you think that's possible? It is a fact. In 2023, the University of Texas scientists, it's always a university, isn't it? Well, they unveiled a semantic decoder. And this is how it works. Volunteers laid down in an MRI scanner, and then they imagined telling a story. The AI interpreted their brain activity and translated it into a stream of text that reflected what they were thinking. It wasn't perfect, not yet, because it's still 2025, so it wasn't word for word, but this was a massive leap from earlier systems that could only pick out single words. So, in the future, are you going to have to police your thoughts? Will you proudly let your freak flag fly? Can you tell me, is this next one a fact or fiction? There's now a pet translator that can turn dog and cat speak into your native tongue. If dogs could actually talk or speak in your native tongue, wouldn't half of them just be shrieking ball, ball, or squirrel, squirrel, until the battery died on your translator? Are they having deep philosophical discussions? Internalized monologues? What do you think? Fact, fiction? It's a fiction. It's a fiction. There's no device that lets you chat with your pet about their day. Their sounds, they're not as complex as human speech, so AI can recognize some animal patterns, like when your dog is hungry or stressed, but not a full-blown conversation. However, there is a real competition offering 10 million bones, $10 million to anyone who can make two-way animal communication possible. 10 million. genius would only get a one-time $10 million prize for creating something that shatters reality. Right? Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Next up, fact or fiction. There are electronic contact lenses that can give you a heads-up display. Smart contacts. Is that a fact? Imagine you're blinking too hard and just 37 tabs open up. Fact or fiction. Smart contacts. They're smart contacts. It is a fact. A startup called Mojo Vision developed AR contact lenses with a built-in micro LED display. In 2022, their CEO wore the world's first true smart contact lens, and it could show text and images in the field of view. The eyeball became the screen. In the future, your eyes will be able to do more than just see. They'll also be able to get pop-up ads. Sick, right? Can't wait. Also, how does that impact the brain? To have this additional screen so close. The future seems exhausting, doesn't it? Is this one a fact or is it fiction? Developments are underway to charge your phone through thin air with focused radio waves. Is that a fact or is it fiction? Focused radio waves charging your phone, no wires necessary. Fact or fiction? It is a fact. My AirCharge developed a charging base that uses phased antennas to track your phone and send out millimeter waves of energy. That energy is converted back into power on your device, so it doesn't need to be plugged in. It's slow for now, of course, but it proves that true room-wide wireless charging is possible. Photosynthesis for phones, but also beaming radio waves in a room. Can that bake your brain? Because it sounds like it probably can. Baked potato, Ryan Gosling, baked brain, radio waves. We're just baked. We're baked, man. We're baked. Fact. Fiction. There are now windows that automatically sync their tint with your circadian rhythm. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Perfectly regulated daylight, no escape from reality. What do you think? Fact? Fiction? It is fiction. Still fiction for now. Is this one a fact or fiction? The first flying car is cleared for takeoff. Are we about to be in the Jetsons? What do you think? Is it time to meet the Jetsons? Would you get a flying car? Yeah, it'd be worth checking out. And you can soon-ish, because it's a fact. In 2023, the FAA gave an airworthiness certificate to a flying car prototype, and several companies also already have working models. Within the next few years, flying cars could become reality, but at first they'll be expensive and limited to certain pilots and to certain areas, so everyone else will still be stuck behind Karen in the minivan. Fact or fiction? A new drone swarm has been trained to knit giant spiderweb-like canopies to provide shade during heat waves. Giant spiderwebs blocking out the sun, blocking out the sun, blocking out the sun. It is fiction. The only thing drones are building right now are trust issues. A laser can transmit sound directly into your ear so that you can hear a secret message no one else does. Whisper mode, whisper mode for snipers. Is that a fact? Can you receive a message no one else hears? It is a fact. Scientists at MIT demonstrated that you could do this using what's called the photoacoustic effect. I wanted to say psychoacoustic, but it's the photoacoustic effect. A laser tuned to a specific wavelength heats tiny amounts of moisture in the air near your ear, and that quick heating creates sound waves, and only you or whoever is the recipient could hear them, which means it's real. It's not psychosis in that case. Fact or fiction? Scientists have successfully implanted false memories in a mouse's brain. What do you think? Is it true? Inception? But with cheese. Have they? Was it MIT researchers? Yep. I guess they're the only ones doing it. Because it's a fact, and it was back in 2013. They activated specific memory cells in a mouse's brain, and by doing that, they convinced the mouse it had been shocked in a spot it had never actually been shocked. In other words, they created a false memory, and that made the mouse recall something that had never actually happened. So now the mouse is in therapy processing trauma that it never had. Fact or fiction? Scientists have discovered a pill that makes you immune to all viruses. One pill to rule them all. Fact? Fiction? It is fiction. There's not a magic pill that grants universal immunity to every virus. Nope. Your immune system is complex, and every virus is different. So what we do have are antivirals that target certain families of viruses and vaccines for specific diseases. But no, there's no single invincibility pill yet. But you should make sure to check out Supersonic Space Agency, because it's a series that I co-created, and while not MIT scientists, there are some space agents who found mycelium that are capable of this reality, so make sure to see what else they discovered too, okay? Yep. Fact or fiction? You tell me a gene therapy cured patients of sickle cell disease by rewriting the DNA. Completely cured. Gene therapy controls you on your genetics. Is this true? Is this a fact? Is this fiction? It's a fact. The first therapy to ever use genome editing inside a patient's cells removed blood stem cells, corrected the mutation, and then infused the fixed cells back into the patient. It's one of the biggest milestones so far using gene editing to treat genetic disorders. So, DNA is editable now, but autocorrect still thinks I'm saying ducking. And is this a fact or is this fiction? Scientists are making progress in cross-species organ transplants using animal organs to save human lives. Is that real or sci-fi? Fact, fiction. Charlotte's Web did not prepare me for this plot twist. Animal organs in lieu of human organs. Fact or fiction? Recently, scientists transplanted a gene-edited pig kidney into a brain-dead human patient, and it worked for 61 days straight, which is a new record. There was also a second ever transplant of a pig heart into a living patient who survived for 6 weeks. So these breakthroughs suggest that organs from gene-edited pigs could one day help the massive shortage of donor organs. Right now, more than 100,000 people are waiting for transplants, and most, sadly, will never get one. So, xenotransplantation, which is the technical name for this, it could change everything. The future of medicine might actually be Charlotte's Web meets Grey's Anatomy. It's pretty cool, but far out, man. Fact or fiction? A complete drug manufacturing cycle was just done in space, creating a medication that's actually better than the version that was made on Earth. Is that a fact? Big Pharma just went intergalactic. Is this true? It's a fact. A California startup completed the first full drug manufacturing cycle in space with an HIV medication. The drug was produced entirely in orbit, and then it was brought back down intact. Why? Microgravity changes the way molecules form, and that can make medicines and other high-value products like fiber optics or alloys higher quality than what we can make on Earth. I hope your insurance covers rocket fuel. Space drugs. Is this one a fact or fiction now? Small artificial suns have been created that produce more energy than they consume, not just once, but repeatedly. Artificial suns. It's a fact. Scientists have achieved net energy gain from fusion. The reaction produced more energy than it consumed. A tiny fuel pellet was blasted with powerful lasers, which caused hydrogen isotopes to fuse into helium, releasing energy. And this is the same process that powers the actual sun. These experiments show that practical fusion energy, which was once considered impossible, is inching closer to reality. But what impact will many suns have on the planetary ecosystem and its natural cycles? Whatever, right? Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. Next fact. Or fiction. There are living robots that can reproduce themselves. Wait, what? Can they really self-replicate? Sweet God. Is that true? Fact or fiction? It's a fact. Tiny living machines were made from frog cells designed by AI. They were 1 millimeter wide and only made under certain conditions, but they could gather loose cells in a new dish and assemble baby xenobots that then grew into copies of the original. They are entirely biological, and they are made of skin and heart cells, but since they're designed to perform tasks by computer models, they are considered robots. So yes, the first machines that reproduce are not Terminators. They're frog blobs. Frog blobs. Fact or fiction? There's now a pill-sized robot you can swallow, and it performs surgery from inside of you. Ingestible robots are ingestible. Robots, fact or fiction? Ingestible robots. It's a fact. Researchers have developed ingestible One design looks like a capsule you swallow, and once in the stomach, it unfolds like a little mini origami robot. And then doctors can then guide it with magnetic fields to patch wounds and even retrieve foreign objects. There are also capsule endoscopes, camera pills that can be swallowed for diagnostics. So in the future, instead of scheduling surgery, your surgeon might just hand you a glass of water and say, hey, swallow the robot. Swallow the robot. Swallow the robot. Alright, last one. Fact or fiction? Scientists have discovered a way to back up human consciousness onto a USB drive, meaning you could literally drag and drop your mind onto the cloud. Is that a fact? Saving your mind on the cloud. Drag and drop your consciousness onto the cloud. Fact or fiction? It's fiction. If your brain could live forever on a hard drive, would you even want it to? On Earth. There's a lot here to take in, isn't there? Did you know about all of this progress, or have you been too wrapped up in the loops of socials and work and daily life, too wrapped up in the loops to notice? Either way, the ride is only getting wilder, so what do you think? Mull it over, right? And if your brain won't quiet down because this was so much new information, I have a few guided meditations that you could check out. I'd recommend Yoga Nidra. It relaxes you body part by body part by body part. Very, very chill. Will release you from any sort of